Welcome back, guys. What we are going to be doing is we are going to be talking about fair value gaps and how you guys can stop getting chopped in the markets, which fair value gap to actually take, which one to avoid, and all the nitty gritty. Okay. A lot of you guys now might be looking at fair value gaps. Maybe I've planted the seed. Perfect. Okay. But maybe you guys are still taking losses. So let's avoid that. All right. Let's say you have this daily fair value gap, okay, and let's say you've applied some of my teachings, okay. Nate said, all right, this bearish fair value gap has been disrespected. Let's look for longs from this fair value gap, and then you have an entry confirmation, and you guys get wrecked. Okay, Nate's lying, blah blah blah. Let's avoid all this headache. Let's avoid all these dramas. All right. First things first is we always need to understand our higher time frame. If you don't have your higher time frame, you don't have a trade. When you know your high time frame, your low time frame becomes very easy, and I'll talk about why I use all the way up to the 4 months, okay, as my high time frame. I'll give you guys multiple examples, and I'll help you, and I'll hold your hand, and we can go through all the diagrams, not diagrams, all the examples, and all the narrative on how to actually start using your fair value gaps properly. All right. First things first. On the 4 months on UCJPY, we can see it's that 4 months right up here. Okay, beautiful. From here, we can see that we have a 4 months fair value gap. Now, when price has a previous candle sweep on the 4 months, and we see bearish price action, okay, we have an idea price is gonna take out this low here, because that is our 4 months fair value gap. But Nate, what about the fair value gaps, on the weekly and the monthly? Let's address them, okay? Well, on the monthly, there is actually a lack of fair value gaps, okay? There is no fair value gaps from this swing low to this swing high. So then we understand on the monthly, we have an idea. Okay, so let's create a narrative. Number one, 4 months, fair value gap. Number two, monthly idea equals 4 months. 4 months, fair value gap. So this low is very, very attractive. Okay, very, very attractive. Because now we have the 4 months and the monthly sorted. That's it. How easy is that? And now we understand if we do, okay, we'll go to lower time frames, we'll go to the weekly, daily. If we do start disrespecting our weekly and our daily fair value gaps, then we understand we have beautiful 4 months, right? 4 months of price action we could trade with, or 3 months of price action that we could trade with. How easy is that, right? So your bias for 3 months. That's, almost 1/4 of the year, okay? Beautiful. So now go to the weekly. What is the weekly saying? Well, we have fair value gaps here. We have this one here too. How do you know which one to take? I'll talk about that with my students. So if our fair value gaps, if this whole fair value gap strategy and you guys understanding fair value gap is really resonating with you guys, I do highly recommend joining the Discord. All right, you guys will love it. There's immense amount of knowledge and education you guys still haven't really discovered. All right, this is just the surface. All right. But let's continue. As we have this as our previous 4 months high, if we want to continue displacing price, we need to start utilizing our weekly fair value gap. As this fair value gap fails, and also this one fails, there is no more fair value gaps we're really looking at, okay? We're not looking at, potential this fair value gap to give us a retracement and then, higher prices, because our 4 months overpowers our weekly fair value gap, okay? So again, 4 months is greater than weekly. Simple as that. The higher the time frame, the stronger the magnet. Okay, so we know this is a very, very attractive magnet. So what we can do here is add this, and we'll get some icon here, such as the magnet or an eye. Okay, and just do that. Beautiful. Okay, so we know this is very attractive, and once the weekly stops pushing price above us, then we most likely know this low is going to be taken out. We know this low is going to be taken out. We know this low is going to be taken out. Okay, so now you guys can use the weekly bias, the weekly profile, and every other profile in the high time frame to really just capitalize on the expansion lower. Now, and we'll be talking about when price does go bullish again. So stay tuned. Now go to the daily. Now we understand, okay, in the daily time frame, once we've already used this daily fair value gap and we've failed to displace price above, meaning we've failed to create new fair value gaps, we most likely know this low is going to be taken out, and this low is again very attractive because that is also our weekly fair value gap. Okay, so now once we disrespect this whole weekly fair value gap, we have a less chance or lower chance of actually price heading bullish. Okay, why isn't this fair value gap holding? There's always a reason for our fair value gaps to stop holding, and for our fair value gaps to actually hold. So now we'll get rid of this, right? And again, you guys might have some counter trend trades, but I wouldn't really be expecting price to expand bullish. However, what you guys can do is start looking at our daily bearish fair value gaps, right? As we disrespected the weekly fair value gap that was right here, we also made a daily bearish fair value gap. Okay, beautiful. And these are beautiful opportunities to start looking for shorts. And these are beautiful, partial areas. These are beautiful partial areas to let your trade run, right? You guys, once you guys have a position like this, there is no reason to actively look for more trades and FOMO into more trades and all that jazz. All right. The beautiful thing is about trading like this is you can do this with so many pairs. All right. Beautiful. Now let's continue. So we know price is now bearish, right? Our weekly fair value gap has been disrespected. Our bearish fair value gaps are now in play. Okay. And now you guys can take that lower to our drawn liquidity. As we spoke about this fair value gap last time, right? Just earlier, 5 minutes ago, there is no reason for this daily fair value gap to hold. Okay, this should actually get disrespected. And this low is, again, a very attractive low. So we're actually assuming price is going to take that low. This is always a fake fair value gap. You guys need to understand about fake fair value gaps and real fair value gaps in order to actually use fair value gaps properly. Okay. As we do approach the 4 months fair value gap, what are we getting, right? We're getting daily fair value gaps. Okay, beautiful expansion. As this daily fair value gap expands, we're creating new daily fair value gaps to actually continue that expansion. We have another daily fair value gap. And the reason why I tell you guys to partial at 2, 3, 4R, or whatever your drawn liquidity is in case price fails to expand. Why isn't price expanding here? Okay, we'll talk about that. Price fails to expand and also sweeps liquidity and continues that expansion. We have another daily fair value gap, and then price disrespects this fair value gap. Why? Let's jump into the higher time frame, shall we? Let's go to the weekly. What's the weekly showing us? Well, this weekly fair value gap has been made. So if we go back to the daily, we understand that the weekly fair value gap, so the daily fair value gap, if it doesn't expand, that's perfectly fine because we have a weekly fair value gap right below us. Okay, and that weekly fair value gap actually aligns with this IDR. Okay, beautiful. Nice. And once we get that, the weekly fair value gap actually fails to displace price above. Okay, so the same thing we just applied on the daily, we apply it on the weekly. So we know this low can absolutely get swept. Now, let's, even just in the weekly, what I did miss was, you see this fair value gap. Okay, if we go back to the daily time frame, price disrespecting potentially this daily fair value gap because it needs to tap to the weekly, and we get that beautiful distribution and we get that beautiful push down to the 4 months. Okay, but let's continue. Let's not sidetrack. Again, weekly, this weekly fair value gap fails to displace price, so we have a better understanding that price can sweep this low. Let's go to the monthly. What do we have in the monthly? Well, let me close all this. We have a bearish monthly fair value gap that should get disrespected. Okay, this is not a real fair value gap. Okay. And we understand that this low is going to be taken out. That's our 4 months fair value gap that we spoke about earlier. So we are disrespecting this monthly fair value gap. We are now in this bearish monthly fair value gap. Okay. And what price does here is actually creates another monthly bullish fair value gap. Okay. So now let's just speak about what's happened. Okay. So we've had our previous 4 month sweep. Okay. We have a monthly IDR. Okay. And we have a 4 months fair value gap. So I could actually just, start labeling this so you guys, can add this to your notes. 4 months fair value gap. We have a monthly fair value gap. Beautiful. Okay. And now if we go to the weekly, now we understand this low is going to be taken out. As this low gets taken out, we also tap the monthly fair value gap. Now we have a bearish weekly fair value gap, which is a fake fair value gap. Again, I should start, understanding and find the common denominators, but we know this is a fake top, right? Why is it a fake top? I'm gatekeeping that for my students, right? This is a fake top. This top will always get swept, always get taken out. And as we start getting our bullish order flow from that monthly fair value gap, we actually have daily fair value gaps that push price higher to our fake top. So this drawn liquidity. How lovely, right? So hopefully you guys aren't taking losses from these bearish fair value gaps, okay? But let's say, maybe we have a bearish bias. okay? This daily gets overpowered by the weekly. And just from one weekly candle, that daily gets disrespected and the weekly also gets disrespected, okay? And now we have a daily fair value gap. Tuesday makes a low, weekly profile. I talk about that in my Discord too for my students, and we could look for longs. If we're using the 4-hour order flow, what are we getting? Right here, we understand that as we have a new month, right, we can allow a couple of days to, you know, kind of accumulate, and then we get our move up. Beautiful move up, beautiful 4-hour fair value gap mitigations, displacing price above us. I did catch a beautiful long from this sweep right here. This was time and price. This was news. I think my trade ran, what was it, like 15R, something like that. Obviously, not full TP. I did partial, and I accidentally closed my trade a bit too early, right, when I meant to partial. So we got roughly, let's say 14, 15R. But regardless, beautiful expansion, all right, beautiful expansion, and just capitalizing trades like this with the 4-hour fair value gap, with the higher time frame understanding, becomes much, much easier. That's how I've managed to get, I think it was 150% or some ludicrous, you know, percentage in 1 month, right? Just catching this beautiful expansion. And if you guys can replicate this in this pair, you guys can also replicate this in the other pairs right here, right? Beautiful. So you're taking a very holistic approach. You're really just milking the market when our setups are there. But the main importance is we aren't taking silly setups. We aren't taking silly, you know, losses like these, okay? From, let's say this fair value gap here, okay? A lot of you guys are probably looking at this as, you know, a continuation break of structure and, you know, whatever it may be, and you guys are taking losses. You guys need to understand the real fair value gaps. You guys need to understand when to partial, when to look for re-entries, okay? These are beautiful price action you guys should be understanding, all right? Beautiful fair value gap expansions, continuating expansions, right? It's very rare for price to come back to your, you know, demand zone, even though it might be unmitigated and there's inducement and whatever it may be, right? So stop thinking supply and demand zone, start thinking fair value gaps, okay? So again, we're using the higher time frame. If you have some sort of position here, wherever it may be, your RR is going to be ludicrous, and it comes naturally. The more you guys are forcing these high RR trades, the more you guys are going to keep having this gambling mentality. That's why I left SMC. That's why I left supply and demand zone, because you're pretty much forced to take these ridiculous high RR trades just because you already have a, you know, low win rate. So why not have a high win rate and partial if needed, right? And then continue having a high win rate and a high R because you're managing your trades appropriately. Very nice. So if we go back to the daily, right, you can see how our daily fair value gaps expand price beautifully, right, to our drawn liquidity. That's why it's crucial. If you have price action like this where, you know, it's mitigating the fair value gaps multiple times, I do talk about that in my Discord again. Just quick plug for my Discord. If you guys do like these fair value gaps, and if it does make sense, you know, understanding fair value gaps, understanding, you know, beautiful expansion like this where price comes down to this fair value gap and we get that expansion, right? Let's talk about it potentially, right? Beautiful expansion above, and you get your, you know, entry like this, then you guys will really love the Discord, right? Just a self plug, all right? Beautiful expansion, and you will see news respecting our fair value gaps too, right? So don't be shy about that too. My entry was down here for my, I think, 16-hour trade, something like this. Again, beautiful expansion, just utilizing news, utilizing fair value gaps, and just utilizing the high time frame. Okay, lovely price action nonetheless. What else can I talk about before I do close this video? Do be careful with your fair value gaps. They're everywhere, right? So you guys do need to build some sort of narrative, some sort of context. So hopefully this video did, you know, kind of help you guys out, just establishing context and understanding which fair value gap to take, which one to avoid. When price is bullish, it's always going to mitigate the fair value gaps. When price is bearish, it's always going to use the fair value gaps. And we use our fair value gaps for entries, exits, right? Partials, order flow, everything. So that's the main important thing about fair value gaps, is we use it for everything. So you guys need to actually study them. Thank you.